Welcome
Right.
to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Ben No, and joining me is Sen Duong. So, Sen, welcome to another podcast. Last week, we didn't get around to one of the wide releases, but there were two. War for the Planet of the Apes, which is the third movie in the Planet of the Apes franchise, and
Mhm.
and possibly the final one. And then there's this movie Wished Upon we didn't get around to, and yeah, it's actually opening over 2,000 theaters. We'll get to it
Yeah.
in this podcast. So how
Uh,
about we kick things off?
sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so number one at the box office is War for the Planet of the Apes. And it came in with 56.5 million over
Mhm.
the weekend. It's actually a debut that I guess is around where I had it.
I was saying like around 70, right?
Yeah, you said 70 million. I said it would probably do about 55 million, and it's just did
Oh, you were right
a
on the
little bit
mark.
higher. Yeah, yeah.
Looks like, another example of franchise fatigue. Didn't matter that this is super well reviewed, had great word of mouth. There's just too many sequels. Just like Despicable Me 3.
Yeah, and
Uh,
this opening is just I guess just a tad higher than the first movie, right? The first movie opened to 54 million, and the second movie opened to 72 million. But this one opened
mhm.
to about 56.5 million. So, like I said, for me personally, I say, I have no interest in watching this movie, and if there was an interest, it's just for the special effects. And this is already
Well,
is.
I don't think that has much to do with it.
Mhm.
Like your interest and my interest. I mean, because you had no interest in watching any of them anyway, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So, and the from the first film to the second film, there was an increase in how much it opened and how much it grossed in total. So I think this is just an example of just franchise fatigue. We're seeing so many third films or fourth films or fifth films disappointing. In this case, despite great reviews.
Yeah, I can understand movies that went on to number five and number six losing steam, but supposedly this is the third and final movie, and yeah, that's like almost a 20 million drop from the previous movie,
Yeah,
previous
yeah.
movie's opening.
We've seen it lately too. It's not just the fourth or fifth. It's like the Hunger Games or the Divergent series, and even the third films for those were lower than the second film. I mean, there's only a couple films that went on to more than three or four films. Like obviously the Fast and Furious and Transformers films, but
Pirates,
lately,
yeah.
yeah, Pirates. But even Pirates 3 didn't do as well as Pirates 2 and Pirates 1. And especially just starting last year, most of the second films or third films have disappointing returns. It's like Avengers 2 disappointed. Civil War, even though it did great, people thought it would do, open to 200 million. But despite great reviews, great word of mouth, great buzz, it didn't do that well. I mean, as
Hmm.
well as people were thinking it would do. So this continues the same trend of, like Despicable Me 3, there's just this franchise fatigue going on since, last summer.
True, true, but also I think the other movie that's in also in theater, the big one, Spider-Man: Homecoming, I think might affect it a little bit.
Yeah, yep, they affected each other because people were expecting Spider-Man to hold on better, but Spider-Man, even with great reviews, the drop off of 60%, which is normal for a franchise that opened a film that opened that huge, but people thought it would at least hold up a bit better. I think the problem with these two is these two are both really well reviewed, and so if you have one that was where the word of mouth wasn't as good, the other one might have played better. But you have two films that have great word of mouth, great buzz, and they're kind of cannibalizing each other's audiences. And so both of them turn out a little bit lower than what people were expecting.
Oh, right, right, and they play to the same crowd, really.
Yeah,
So
yep,
that's why I think both movies takes are lower than expected.
yeah. Well, the budget is also pretty high, 150 million. What's the worldwide gross?
It's not open
Uh,
that wide yet, so the worldwide gross is only 102 million.
Right. And we'll see if this has legs in the coming weeks. Great reviews, great word of mouth, but who knows? Maybe people, like you said, are just tired of all these sequels.
It's entirely true too, but and with the competition coming along, there are more movies. People,
Yeah,
this is the
yeah,
third
yeah.
movie. People might say, hey, let's watch the newer stuff. This is the third movie already. Let's wait until it comes to, home video or streaming or what have you and watch it then.
Right. Yeah, so this, kind of compared to the second film, a little disappointing, but at the same time, we have to see how well it holds up.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It opened okay,
yeah, I think both
considering.
of them will have a break this coming weekend because Dunkirk, even though it's directed by Christopher Nolan, is not the type of film that will draw a huge, huge opening. Like, I
Mhm.
don't think anyone's expecting we'll get to it, Dunkirk to do, 60 million, for instance.
Right, right.
So the people who were split between watching Spider-Man and War of the Planet of the Apes this weekend might have a chance to, watch both or catch up
Maybe,
on it.
maybe. There's also another
Yeah,
big
maybe.
movie coming out that's targeting the same group as well. We'll get to that as well, called Valerian.
Yeah, that's true, Valerian.
So,
But
yeah.
I don't
So,
expect that to be like a 60 million opener either.
okay, okay, all right. Let's move along to number two. Speaking of Spider-Man: Homecoming, it grossed 45 million, but and as you said, experienced a 61% drop off from the previous weekend. Domestic gross so far is 208 million, and yeah, didn't hold up as well as we thought or as I thought, right? Mainly because maybe it targeted the same audience as a War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, worldwide has done 469 million. Yeah, I think it's just one of these weekends where you have two very high quality films competing against each other. So the drop off was definitely higher than a film that is this well reviewed, but not unexpected for a film that opened that huge.
Well, also for a film that is another reboot. Remember, this is
Yeah, right,
another
right.
reboot of Spider-Man. Is that you can only watch so many Spider-Man reboots and not noticing the sameness. Yeah,
Yeah.
they changed a little
Although the,
bit in
although the
there.
great thing, yeah, although the great thing with this Spider-Man Homecoming is, it's a real reboot. It's not like the Amazing Spider-Man where it's the exact same movie as the first Sam Raimi film. There's like no real reason for it. Whereas this Spider-Man, there's no like, oh, he's bitten by the spider, he's suddenly discovering his powers. Everything felt fresh and new to me. I didn't have like, oh man, I seen this already 4 years ago.
Sure, but that's for people who have more time and disposable income, right? But for people who say, I watched this, the movie twice already with Sam Raimi's version, and then the new one, The Amazing Spider-Man, and then there's another one coming. Sure, it has Iron Man in it and some new stuff, but would I want to watch another reboot about how he come to terms with his own powers, right? And whereas I can watch, for example, War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Finish that off.
Well, which, yeah.
I mean, not me. I would probably go watch Spider-Man Homecoming instead. But
Right.
what I'm saying is like people who watch the other Spider-Man movies already, and there might be, as we said, franchise fatigue is a real thing, and Spider-Man is huge, as evidenced by the huge opening weekend. But
Yeah.
it might not hold on as well because again, it's another Spider-Man movie, and at some point, this
I'm
the same
not sure if
story.
that has anything to do with it though, because if that has something to do with it, it would have affected the first weekend. The franchise fatigue thing. I think franchise fatigue might be a real cause for War for the Planet of the Apes. I think the problem with Spider-Man Homecoming is it's just maybe a strong competition for War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
Because they're both super well reviewed, both targeting the same audience. If franchise fatigue were affecting Spider-Man, I think it would have affected the opening weekend. I think this one was just strong competition. And the thing is, when I was watching this, I didn't have any feeling of reboot. Like when I was watching it, everything felt super fresh to me. Spider-Man Homecoming. It's not like when I saw the first Amazing Spider-Man, I'm like, oh man, he's getting bit by the spider again, discovering his powers. There's there's another
his
father
uncle
of the
got killed.
planet. Yeah, his uncle, and I was like, dude, I saw this 4 years ago. It's still fresh in my mind. But this one, everything felt fresh. They didn't even do the Spider-Man fighting him thing. He's just Spider-Man. They didn't have to go through all that anymore, and it felt like a fresh, new film to me. I didn't feel like, oh, I've seen this before. Everything felt fresh and interesting and new.
Well, sure,
Including
sure.
the casting. When I walked in, I was like, I didn't have any feeling of a reboot in my head at all.
Yeah, what I'm saying is there's the opening crowd, the fans, and then there's the general crowd who really doesn't care about a movie in particular. They just want to be entertained, and I guess it's that crowd that then turn out for the second weekend. Even though there is competition, what I'm saying is people might not want to watch another Spider-Man movie. So we'll see the
Well, I think when you have a film that opened to 100-something million, it's mainstream.
it is, but
it broke out that core fan base.
Sure, but I'm just saying that how well it holds up. You have to have expand more, right? More people who are or out on the periphery, interest from them, those people as well. And we'll see if we'll see if it holds out well or not, though.
Yeah, it's already gonna do better than Amazing Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, a film that opened this huge, I think it's already mainstream. There's no like.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I don't think it's just like the core comic book fans going to see it.
I'm just saying
that it's this huge.
But I'm saying it's not holding as well, and we'll see if the third weekend it will continue the huge percentage drop off, right? Or not. It might open high, but if it experiences again the high drop off, then it might not have much staying power.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's move along to number 3, Despicable Me 3. It grows 18.9 million over the weekend. Let's see, only a 43 or 44% drop off in its third weekend. Domestic gross is 187. And let's see, worldwide right now is 619 million. So it's doing pretty well.
Worldwide is definitely picking up for the domestic. But even domestic, it doesn't look like it's going to do nearly as well as the second film. It's going to do over 200 million, but it's probably not going to reach the first film, which is about 260 million. Domestically, it'll be the lowest grossing of the series. Worldwide, it's the second one made nearly $1 billion, right? I'm not sure about the first though.
Let's see. Worldwide for the Minions movie made $1 billion. Despicable Me 2 came close, only 30 million off.
Oh, okay. So worldwide it's already made more than the first film. The first film made 543 worldwide. So 3 has already grossed worldwide. It has already been the second film, but domestically it'll probably not get to 252 million. But it seems like worldwide you'll probably have no trouble reaching 700 million, or if not 800.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, as we said, I mean, even though it didn't do as well as the second movie, didn't do as well as the second Despicable Me movie, hey, the budget's only 80 million. So they're making bank. They're, flying to the bank, they're having all this cash to wipe their tears away.
Yeah.
They're okay. And they're probably going to go with the Minions 2 next, right?
Yeah.
And that movie is coming out in 2020.
I mean, look, they're able to get like a spin-off that's just as successful as the original, which is kind of tough to do.
Yeah, and it's just with the side characters, right? And they don't,
you said they don't need it. We'll see on the second Minions film. If the second Minions film will do us anywhere close to the first film, then we can say that hey, they don't need any of these main characters anymore. It's always been the Minions.
Yeah, but it's another you could say it's another movie, another storyline that they could milk, I guess, for 80 million.
Yeah, and we'll get to see if Despicable Me 3 was franchise fatigue, or was it mainly just not enough Minions?
Well, we talked about it. I think, we talked about it, and I think it's the storyline. Despicable Me franchise kind of lost its way with the like grew turning from bad to good, and where did they go from there?
Yeah, they had nowhere else to go. Like maybe it was one of these ideas that only worked once or twice. There was only materials to do one movie, but they expanded it to 2, and they just didn't have enough for a third one. But the Minions you can always do more, because the storyline with that is they're just these side cute characters that are fun, and they you can go anywhere with them.
Right, and you can put them in all sort of situations, and it works.
Like you said, there's they can definitely move on with more Minions, but we'll see how long that will last too.
Right. I mean, with the Despicable Me 3, right? They pretty much just, okay, we're done with the Gru storyline. Let's add a family member to this,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yep,
yeah.
yep.
Okay, let's chug along to number 4, Baby Driver. Edgar Wright's action crime thriller. Continue to hold up
Action,
pretty well.
comedy, yeah, thriller, yeah,
Yeah, with a lot of well-known actors like Kevin Spacey, Lily James, John Helm, etc. And
Jamie Foxx,
yeah,
yeah,
Jamie Foxx. Don't forget about him.
yeah,
And there's a lot of driving and guns involved.
and music.
Music, right.
It's holding up really well. That's especially for action film, a thriller. It's holding on even better than a family film. It's definitely getting great word of mouth, great reviews. This at 73 million so far, and at a budget of 34 million. So one of the sleeper hits of this summer.
Yeah, one of the quieter hits of the summer.
Yeah, one of the
Like
kind
I
of
said, I
sleeper
didn't
hit.
expect much from this movie, but
Yeah,
it proved me wrong. And while it didn't pop up, well, it did pop up in higher, right? It opened well, or
yeah,
more than what I expected to do, and
mhm,
but it continues to hold on well. And it's just
yeah,
I guess it's targeted toward those more Edgar Wright fans. And more of the mature fans who are looking for more, I guess, intelligent action crime thriller.
yeah. I think this one definitely went beyond the Edgar Wright fans because his core fan base wasn't that huge. Like you said, based on his previous films because of the British element. This one has definitely reached a mainstream audience now.
Yeah.
73 million.
Well, and now we can get back on track to do Ant-Man 2, maybe, or 3,
Maybe they'll let him finally do Ant-Man the way he wants to do it.
right?
Or who knows? Maybe like the directors of the Batman Lego movie. Do they want to make an Edgar Wright film or do they want to make a Marvel film? They're like, they wanted to make a Star Wars film, not a film by those directors.
Right. Okay. So we'll never know. Well, until
Yeah,
they announce it.
right.
All right. Let's move on to number 5, to The Big Sick.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled in 7.6 million in its expansion. So far, it grossed 16 million in its 4th weekend, and this is a kind of a smaller movie by Lionsgate that expanded. It's
Mm-hmm.
about I guess it's produced by Judd Apatow. Stars
Yeah.
Ray Romano, Holly Hunter, Zoe Kazan, and it's about this Indian guy who fell in love with a white woman, and his family wants to pair him off, like arranged marriages with a nice Indian girl, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's that involved.
Yes. For indie film, that just getting the nationwide expansion is pretty good. So we'll see how well it holds up from here.
Yeah, and it's doing pretty well. I guess it has the John Apatow. I mean, is it John Apatow?
Yeah.
Judd,
Judge.
no, Judd Apatow flavor to
Yeah,
this movie, except that it's,
yeah.
stars an Indian guy,
Yeah,
and
and it's super well reviewed.
uh,
97% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's based on the true life love story. Yeah, between I don't want to mess up his name, Kumail Nanjiani.
okay, I'll go with what you say.
Yeah. So so it's based on the real life story of him and his wife. I guess they eventually got married, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, in the movie, she got into an accident as in this coma. So I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe she wakes up and they get married.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so
But yeah, it did well in its expansion, and for an indie film, it's doing okay.
yeah, yep. We'll see how well it holds up from here. But it's already made 16 million for an indie film. That's already
Yeah, and Judd
Yeah.
Apatow's name, really sells this as well as Ray Romano.
I'm not sure about Wade.
Oh, he got this, popular TV series.
Yeah.
People knows him.
Yeah, people know who he is.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's move along to number 6. Wonder Woman put in 6.9 million over the weekend. And, speaking, of a movie holding on well, and like Spider-Man Homecoming,
Yeah.
it only
Yep.
dropped by 30% week after week. It's at these low drop-offs. And domestic gross right now is 380. Wonder Woman is right now the highest, at least domestically highest grossing DC movie.
Right. Yeah. Looks like it's gonna get to 400 million by the current trend, at least 400 million. And of all the films in the top 10, with the exception of the expansion of the Big Sick, this one held up the best.
And Gal Gadot is underpaid for this movie. I read that she's only paid like $300K for this role.
Yeah, but you know what? She was an unknown actor. Chris Hemsworth was paid even less for Thor, and Chris Hemsworth had a higher profile as an actor than Gal Gadot before he took on Thor. And he was paid like, I think, 200,000. I'm surprised that you can be a lead actor in a big, massive studio film and still not be paid at least $1 million.
Well, they don't have leverage because, they're unknowns, right? And, if someone say, hey, you want to go into the mainstream, but we're going to pay you only this much, for them, it's probably a lot already, right? Compared to their previous roles, right? And it's already a lot. And, with these movies, it's kind of a star-making turn, right? They get high profile and later on they can demand more money.
Yeah, I'm surprised that most of these guys who started, even Robert Downey Jr., they weren't paid at least $1 million for these, franchise, big budget, $200 million movies.
Right, yeah. I mean, if they can get away with paying people less, they will, right? And Chris Pine probably got paid more than
I'm surprised with these films that these huge $200 million production films from Marvel, like the lead stars are probably one of the lowest paid. The side characters who probably got paid more than the lead stars.
Yeah.
Like you said in Wonder Woman, Chris Pine probably got paid a lot more than Gal Gadot, and I'm sure, and Thor, Natalie Portman probably got paid way more than Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. So it's the thing right there. It's like these people are unknown actors, and and for movies like this will raise their profile, and has a potential for them to make more down the line, and versus them not getting the role.
Right. And kind of like the original Batman, Jack Nicholson got paid probably more than every other actor combined, playing the bad guy.
Right, but still, right, considering the budget, right, you expect them to pay at least, as you say, $1 million instead of some
I think
some catering costs.
Yeah, because 300,000 is almost like some chump change that they just throw out.
And the more they can put on the bottom line, the less they pay people.
Yeah,
because of Hollywood.
But I wonder if they get any back in.
I doubt it. Maybe. Who knows? It's possible.
Right.
But that's the upfront cost for them. Gal Gadot, $300K. So it was just really nothing.
Right. And I'm sure they can always pay them more. Like Wonder Woman being such a huge hit, such a surprise hit. Kind of like when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck did, what's that movie?
Good Will Hunting?
Yeah, Good Will Hunting. Even though originally they were paid peanuts to make it, when it became a $100 million hit, the Weinstein brothers wrote $500,000 check each for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Even then, they considered it low. They're like, wait a minute, this movie grows over $100 million. You only,
right.
When you think of it that way, you're like, hey, $300K is not that. But a lot of times, with it being such a hit, I'm sure the studio will hopefully, like Gal Gadot, like, hey, here's a bonus.
Yeah.
They do that. Like I mentioned with James Cameron and Titanic, they just wrote him a $100 million check when it was #1 3 weeks in a row. They're like, here's $100 million, James, thanks.
Okay, yeah, make that next one for us too.
Yeah.
That's an advance for his next movie.
For Avatar.
Yeah. But then I guess they'll sort it out. And Gal Gadot now, this, like I said, this is her breakout role here, and she'll be Wonder Woman for the foreseeable future.
Yep, and she'll probably be the anchor of the DC universe.
Yep, and considering the budget, she'll probably be paid about the same for her Justice League movie.
Yep.
So there goes. For her, I guess it's a dream come true, right? To break into the entertainment business and just made it really.
Yeah. And not just made it, but like she Wonder Woman has a higher profile than Batman now.
Right. Okay, let's move on to number 7, which is Wish Upon, the movie that we didn't get to. It's a horror movie. It put in about 5.6 million over the weekend. I think it's pretty decent. The budget's only 12 million. So it's it's a teenage horror movie about a box that contains a demon and it grants wishes. People using those wishes to target the people they don't like. But in the end, they end up getting targeted by the demon, I guess.
I think it's from the director of Annabelle, so it has that Conjuring connection.
Okay, sure. One of these items, right? We say, right? This room with all these artifacts, right? And you say, and you say that they can make all these movies with these different artifacts, and they did.
Yeah. But this one is horribly reviewed, 19% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's why it's not doing nearly as well as Annabelle or The Conjuring.
Sure. It stars some people that besides Ryan Philippe. Unknowns, typical.
Most of these horror films stars unknowns though.
Yeah.
Is this a Jason Blum production?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's released, distributed by Broad Green Pictures, so I don't think it is. I think they just hired the director and to do a horror movie, and it might not be connected to Annabelle's.
Probably not, but Annabelle was a huge hit, so they gotta use the name.
Right. So I guess all in all, I think it's kind of successful for the movie that it is, right? Low budget horror film.
Yeah, low budget, but let's put it this way: there won't be a Wish Upon 2.
No.
Yeah, but it's not gonna lose money.
Yeah, it's gonna make money here in theaters. It's gonna do well, on home video since it is by the director of Annabelle.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to number 8. Speaking of franchise fatigue and films that disappointed, this one really disappointed. Cars 3 did 3.1 million over the weekend. Drop off is 41%. It has already closed 140 million after 5 weeks of release, which makes this one of the lowest grossing Pixar movies.
I think
it's making more than The Good Dinosaur, but I think that's it. And even worldwide, it's only at 223 million. And Pixar's films tend to have a stagger opening. They spread it out. They don't open it everywhere at once. So we don't know how much better it's going to do overseas until months later. But so far, it's not looking good.
It's at the bottom end of Pixar's filmography, just like right next to The Good Dinosaur. Whether it's a little bit above or behind, like right now, worldwide is behind The Good Dinosaur, maybe because, as you said, of the staggered release worldwide. But worldwide right now behind The Good Dinosaur. Domestically, it's just ahead. But that's not saying much. Cars 3 is a sequel that no one really asked for after Cars 2. But they made it, as we said, because of merchandising.
No one asked for a sequel to Cars 2, the original Cars.
Right, but still, it makes sense to make one since the first one did so well. But they went into a direction that no one wanted, except John Lasseter and Wiley Pan. But they turn out another Cars movie, and it just goes to show that they should just put the brakes on this franchise for a bit.
Yeah, I think after this one they probably will, because not only is it not doing that well domestically, it's not doing well overseas. We don't know yet, but so far it's not looking good. And these films, the budget for these films usually tend to be in the 200 million range. And this one might actually lose money.
Well, like we said, they make up the money in merchandising. So
yeah. But we'll see. Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's move on to another disappointing film in the franchise. And number 9, Transformers: The Last Knight. Did 2.8 million over the weekend, drop off of 56%. It's doing just as poorly as Cars 3. So far, it has only grossed 125 million at a budget of 217 million, and it's easily the worst performer in the Transformers franchise. And worldwide is not doing that much better. The worldwide gross is 517. The previous couple of Transformers films did over $1 billion, so this one is pretty bad overall.
Yeah, it's just like the private movies. It's just like, hey, they're ready to move on.
Yeah, the only thing with the Pirates movie is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. It's doing 750 million worldwide. So it's making up for it overseas. And you know what? Pirates, they can still crank out another Pirates movie because it looks like it might get to 800 million when it's all said and done worldwide, which isn't that far off from the previous Pirates movie. The previous one did 1 billion. And I think, at 800 million, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but still, you can see that at least domestically, the interest is it's dropping off pretty quickly, and
but domestically, the interest level is definitely not there, not as much as the other films.
Right, and same thing happens with Transformers the last night. It's just that people, or well, at least Michael Bay's vision of the franchise. It's just people are ready to move on from him.
Yeah, and especially with Transformers, it's not making up for it overseas. So it's not looking good for the Bumblebee spin-off.
Well, yeah, we'll see. It's just that this is too big for Paramount to shelf, and they're gonna try to give it a go and see how well it works out.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on to number 10?
Bring us home.
All right. At number 10 is The House. It's the comedy starring Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. A very disappointing comedy. Did 1.8 million over the weekend. Continues its steep 60% plus drop week after week. After 2 weeks, it has grossed 23 million at a budget of 40 million. This movie will probably lose money, which is hard to do considering it stars two super consistent comedians, Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. Either one of them individually can open a movie, in the 20 to 30 million range, and this one looks like it's not even going to gross 30 million domestically.
Yeah, it's surprising considering who's in it, and the budget is fine. Like you said, both of those leads can open a movie, but it didn't. This movie didn't open. It only opened to 8 million, and just continues to drop off from there.
Yep, and I guess the premise is just too weak to attract anyone.
Right.
Just proves that you can't just throw two A-list comedians together, with anything. The premise has to be, at a bare minimum, strong enough to get people out there.
Right.
And this one, people just didn't care.
Okay, and that means just on to the next one. The budget is okay. I mean, they're gonna.
They didn't lose too much. It's just 40. Yep. The budget's only 40 million. They're not gonna lose too much money, but next time they'll probably think a little bit harder on a premise that works.
Right. Okay, so that rounds out the top 10. How about we move on to the new releases this weekend? We have 3 wide releases. We have the aforementioned Dunkirk, I think.
Yeah,
Dunkirk. The Christopher Nolan World War II movie. There's a Girls Trip, with alcohol and drugs involved. Valerian, which is the Luc Besson sci-fi action movie.
What should we start out with? Chris Nolan, right?
Chris Nolan? Okay, let's do Dunkirk, the Chris Nolan movie. It's a World War II movie. I guess it's based on, a true story of it, or maybe true events, if not, with these characters. About Allied forces trapped on one of these fronts, and they're evacuating, and people who are behind them to, oversee the evacuation.
Yeah, and the Nazis are involved.
Yes, World War II, of course.
There are no reviews on Rotten Tomatoes so far, which is usually not good, especially for a director of Chris Nolan's prestige, because usually his films tend to be well reviewed, and if there are no reviews, I think. But I on Twitter I've heard great things though.
There are Nolan fans, no matter what he does, he has this following.
Yeah,
and
I've heard pretty good things about him.
Okay. But the trailer doesn't impress me at all. It's kind of unlike a Christopher Nolan movie that we are used to, like Insomnia.
It's not mind-bending.
Right, or The Prestige, or Interstellar, or Inception, right?
Memento,
Yeah, it's unlike those movies. This is sort of more like a
tradition. Yeah. I kind of like that he's doing that, because otherwise it's going to turn into, M. Night, where you're always expecting a certain thing from them. and it gets tiring after a while.
Well, not a certain thing. I think a higher, I guess, a bigger concept.
Yeah, people actually, will constantly expect like some mind-bending premise
Mm-hmm.
from him, and this is kind of like Chris Nolan doing just a normal film,
Right. He's
and
doing a who's that guy? E.T. or Saving Private
Steven
Ryan.
Spielberg.
Yeah, he's doing a Steven Spielberg, more of a homage, straight storytelling with this one, I think. That's just based on the trailer. I haven't seen the movie. I haven't read any reviews. So, but that's just the feel from here.
Yeah, from the critics on my Twitter feed, it seems like the reaction so far has been, pretty solid.
So, yeah, but it's this one of these big movies that would open well. I'm not sure if people want to watch a war movie right now. Even though it's by Chris Nolan, and it has a very British cast as well. Harry Styles, Tom Hardy, Kenneth Branagh, Cillian Murphy, etc., etc.
Yes. Okay, so what are you thinking?
You know what? It's probably gonna open higher than what I had it. I'm gonna go with maybe 45 million, just based on Nolan's name alone.
You're going that high?
Well, it is opening over 3,000 theaters. It's open.
Yeah, but 45 million would make this. I think that's a lot higher than what most people are predicting. Because like you said, this is not Batman.
Mm-hmm, right.
So people aren't expecting that kind of numbers. I'm thinking like 20 to 25 million.
Okay, 20 to 25.
Yeah.
You might be right, but yeah, I'm betting on the Chris Nolan brand here. I could be way off on this one.
Yeah.
And it is really higher, more than Valerian. And I'm betting on like War for the Planets of the Apes not holding up well. I'm betting that Spider-Man Homecoming not holding up well.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the reviews are. But those two films have great reviews and great word of mouth.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough choice for moviegoers, but a great choice though to have all these very well-reviewed films out there to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the top 2, 4, 6, 7 films on the top 10, they're all fresh, and more than half of them are in the 90% plus range, which is pretty good. Dunkirk might be in that range too, from what I've seen in my feed so far.
Right. I'm just saying, let's see what Christopher Nolan can bring. I think his name right now, people are looking for something different, and maybe they think he could have a take on the war movie. Take on the war movie.
We'll see though. This doesn't have like Leonardo DiCaprio.
No.
So that's why I'm thinking 20 to 25 million. If it opens to 45 million, it proves that Christopher Nolan can open any movie in a blockbuster style.
Okay, let's go with what I have. And
all right. Okay, 45. I'm 20 to 25. Let's move on to Valerian.
Okay, Valerian, the Luc Besson sci-fi action movie. It's based on a comic book. It stars Cara Delevingne, I think. Then Dane DeHaan, Clive Owen, Rihanna is in it. Ethan Hawke, even Ritter Hauer, I think the guy in the Blade Runner movie. It looks good.
Howard,
yeah, okay, Ritter Hauer. It looks good, but I'm not sure how appealing
Well, so did
the
the Fifth Element. It does have that Fifth Element look, but even Fifth Element only did modest business in the U.S. I remember it doing like in the maybe 60 million range in the U.S. Overseas, it did better. I think in France it made like 100 million or something like that, if not a lot more. But in the U.S. it was just kind of a modest hit, well reviewed.
Right.
It has this one has that sort of feeling too, except the two stars are like not people who can draw a crowd.
No. That's why I'm saying I'm not sold on the cast.
Yeah, Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne,
I guess
they're kind of interesting stars because they're not like your mainstream vanilla brand. They're kind of they kind of have a certain edge, and the characters they tend to play tend to be kind of dark.
Let's put it this way: they got them for cheap, so that's why they're in it.
Okay, all right. But I'm kind of I like the casting though. They're not anchors in a film that you typically see in a mainstream movie.
And this is really not a mainstream movie in the sense that it's really a European movie. You know, it's Luc Besson is
it's a Luc
based in
Besson.
Europe.
Yeah,
His financing is there, so the casting might work well better there than here. So I think
it's
it'll
more
open.
targeted towards the
Yeah.
European audience.
Yep. And Valerian is really a European comic book as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like the Marvel and DC stuff that we're used to here.
Yeah, the reviews are decent so far, though, 69%.
Yeah, or just that.
What are you going with?
I'm going with 20 million opening.
Yeah, I'm kind of around there, if not less, because I mean the trailer looks great, but it doesn't seem like it has enough of a mainstream appeal to draw a bigger crowd. I'm thinking more like 15 million.
Yeah, I think it might be closer to yours, but hey, I'm giving Luc Besson some respect here with 20 million
because he did do Lucy, which was a surprise hit.
Right, because and competition is still fierce, right? We still have Apes,
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and if Dunkirk did as well as what I projected, then there's not much left for Valerian.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the third film, Girls Trip. Continues the trend of girls behaving badly.
Yeah, girls' night out, right? About four women in their, I don't know if it's middle age or whatever, but more adult like now. They're getting together to have a trip, to New Orleans for the Essen Festival, and they drink, they take drugs or whatever you.
Yeah, and this is more targeted towards the African American crowd. It's from the same people that made all those
Best Man Holiday, etc.
Yeah. And all of those did really well. This is getting surprisingly good reviews so far on Rotten Tomatoes. There are only 15 reviews so far, but it's at 87%, which is surprising for these kind of movies. They tend to be not as well reviewed. And this one is so far like the best review I've seen of these kind of movies, but there's only 15 reviews so far, so that's
right. And with these kind of movies, there's a sort of a sameness, but it has a very good cast here. Like sort of like the who's who, in African American actress, Jada Pinkett Smith, Queen Latifah, Regina Hall, so all here.
Yeah, with the surprisingly good reviews, I think you'll probably do just as well as the other films. The films that you just mentioned, Best Man Holiday.
Right. Those open really well, though.
Yeah, in the 30 million range, right?
Yes, 30 million. Best Man Holiday opened to 30 million. Barbershop, The Next Cut, 20 million. That's for Malcolm Lee's.
No, I mean the Best Man Holiday. Didn't that get a sequel too? That also did this as well.
Let me see. Best Man Holiday. I think Best Man Holiday is already the sequel.
Oh, and the one before that was did pretty well.
Yes, see the series is The Best Man, right? The Best Man, Best Man Holiday is the sequel to The Best Man.
Oh, okay, yes, and the Best Man did really well too.
The Best Man did okay. It only opened to 9 million, but it went on to 34 million.
Oh, okay. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking the first Best Man 9 million, or are you thinking Best Man Holiday 34 million?
The numbers are not. Well, the numbers are not adding up for me right now, because Valerian 20, Dunkirk 45, and if this one,
I think you're too high on all of them.
Possible, because like this week, as we know, these movies will do really well to open really well since it's targeted toward the African American audience, and it could open in the 15 to 20 million range, if not more. Yeah,
and this again only 15 reviews, but surprisingly well reviewed. Let me see. I had Dunkirk at 20 to 25, Valerian at 15, Girls Trip. The African American audience is always dependable. This could be the surprise hit, but I'll go with 15 million. But I could easily see this doing 20 to 25.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm probably high on Dunkirk. But if going by your numbers, these movies line up pretty well. The numbers adds up. What's what I'm saying.
What are you going?
I say I'm probably going 15 to 20. So one of them is going to be wrong. One of them is going to be wrong. It's probably Dunkirk.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Who knows? It might surprise people.
It might be surprised, or it could be Valerian really will disappoint.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see which of these films will surprise us next weekend.
All right. We could be all wrong. They could all underperform.
Yeah. But the great things is a lot of great choices for people. In the top 10, there's like half of them were above 90%.
There's a good mix of like big blockbusters and like little indie movies as well, and horror.
Yeah. Yep.
Get there.
All right. See you guys next weekend.